The Wi-Fi incident on Sycamore Lane. Have you ever watched a storm roll in from miles away? The air's still, the trees frozen in place, and yet somehow you just know something is coming. That's what it felt like that morning in Sycamore Landison-soaked lawns, kids playing in sprinklers, and tension so thick it could split the air like lightning. And it all started with a Wi-Fi reset. Dorian Miles had lived on that street for nearly 8 years. A former Marine turned chief of police in the small town of Rosefield, he kept to himself. Quiet, composed, always respectful. He lived in a modest, cream-colored two-story at the edge of the cul-de-sac, where he tended his roses every Sunday and helped elderly neighbors carry groceries when no one else noticed. But Dorian didn't wear his title like armor. He didn't flash his badge. In Sycamore Lane, he was just the guy in the gray hoodie who jogged every morning at 6 a.m. sharp, waved at passing cars, and never raised his voice. That Saturday morning, Dorian was troubleshooting his router. He'd noticed unusual activity on his home, network sluggish speeds, odd devices pinging the system. As a man who valued privacy, it was routine for him to update passwords regularly. Coffee in one hand, laptop open on the patio table, he adjusted settings, changed his password, then leaned back with a sigh, listening to the calm hum of suburbia. A few yards away, across the manicured lawn and a white picket fence, blinds shifted ever so slightly. In that house lived Meredith Crane. Meredith was, let's call it, assertive. HOA chairwoman, community listserv moderator, and self-appointed guardian of neighborhood standards. If a car was parked too close to the sidewalk, she knew. If a lawn grew half an inch past the standard, she'd email. To some, she was annoying. To others, a minor tyrant. But Meredith saw herself as the last line of defense against chaos. And today, her internet went out. The timing, to her, wasn't just suspicious. It was incriminating. As her modem lights blinked into nothingness, she glanced out the window and saw Dorian, hoodie up, tapping away on a laptop. Her mind didn't wander to coincidence. It went straight to conspiracy. She stormed out, robe fluttering, slippers slapping concrete, rage boiling in her throat. "Excuse me," she snapped, marching up to the edge of his property. Dorian looked up, already knowing the script. "Morning," he said calmly. "What do you think you're doing?" Dorian gestured to the laptop. "Updating my Wi-Fi password." She crossed her arms. "Is that why my internet suddenly died?" "Don't play dumb. I know what this is. You're hacking into our networks. You've been doing it for months, haven't you?" "I'm sorry," he blinked. "Ma'am, I haven't touched anything outside my own system." She was already dialing 911. "There's a suspicious man outside my house," she said in her best terrified voice. "He's tampering with electronics, might be trying to access private information. He's wearing a hoodie, looks aggressive. Please hurry." Dorian sat still, coffee in hand, and murmured, "Here we go." 15 minutes later, a patrol car pulled up. Officers stepped out, one older, seasoned, the other younger, still getting used to the weight of the badge. Meredith bolted toward them. "Thank God you're here," she cried, pointing. "That man right there, he's been acting suspiciously, probably accessing our Wi-Fi networks, messing with our electronics." The older officer, Sergeant Lionel Cruz, looked past her to Dorian. Recognition crossed his face immediately. His jaw clenched. Meredith noticed but pressed on. He was just sitting there, typing, and my service went out. Cruz turned toward her. "Ma'am," he said quietly, "are you absolutely sure about this accusation?" "Of course I'm sure." Cruz said, "That man is Chief Dorian Miles, your next-door neighbor. He's also my boss." Her expression fell apart like cheap plaster. "What?" she stammered. "He's who?" Dorian stood slowly, pulling his badge from under his hoodie. The gold glinted in the sun. "I was resetting my router," he said. "You're welcome to check it." Silence. The kind of silence that swallows neighborhoods. Meredith tried to gather herself. "I didn't know. You never said you were." "If I weren't," Dorian asked, "would you still have called the police?" She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Cruz spoke next. "False reports to emergency services are serious, ma'am. They waste resources, endanger others, and undermine trust." Dorian waved it off. Log it, and let's move on. That night, the story traveled faster than wildfire. No one needed to ask questions. They'd all seen Meredith pacing the street, phone in hand, waving down police. Sunday morning, Dorian noticed subtle shifts. The neighbor who never made eye contact gave a hesitant nod. The elderly man across the street waved from his porch. Mrs. Lou offered him herbs from her garden. No grand gestures, just small cracks in the walls. Meredith, meanwhile, vanished. No patrols, no memos, no HOA notices. Some said she'd gone to her sister's. Others figured she was hiding in shame. Dorian didn't care. What mattered was this. Her grip on the neighborhood had slipped. People saw. People talked. And for the first time, they questioned. By Wednesday, the mayor had called Dorian. We've had some emails, he said. No outrage. Just concern. Residents want to know how this kind of profiling happens in a place like ours. A week later, Dorian stood before a small crowd at the local community center. No uniform. No speech. Just truth. I'm Dorian. I live here. I'm also the chief of police. But this isn't about my title. It's about how quickly suspicion becomes accusation. How fear distorts perception. And the room listened. Voices followed, some hesitant, some confessional. One teenager asked, "What should we do when this happens to someone else?" "Speak," Dorian replied. Silence never changed anything. The weeks after brought slow progress. HOA meetings opened with discussions on community trust. Teens led cleanup efforts. A school art class made a mural titled, "We All Belong." And one day, Meredith returned. She stood on Dorian's lawn, stripped of pretense, her voice small. "I came to apologize," she said. "Not just for calling the cops. For judging you. For never trying to know who you were." Dorian didn't rush to forgive. "You assumed the worst," he said. "I did," she admitted, "and want to do better. I resigned from the HOA. I wrote to the council asking for bias training. And I told my niece the truth. Every detail." He watched her for a moment, then nodded. "That's something. Do you forgive me?" "I don't know yet. But you're trying. That matters." They stood in silence. No longer strangers, no longer enemies. Just neighbors beginning something new. Weeks passed. Change was slow but visible. A new culture began to root itself in Sycamore Lane, not one of suspicion, but understanding. Dorian remained steady, a quiet presence in the place he'd always called home. He didn't seek apologies. He didn't demand reparations. He believed in something deeper: awareness, reflection, responsibility. And sometimes that was enough.